We are going to talk about the environment in Japan, specifically teaching and learning about the environment in Japan. It's fresh on my mind because I introduced my new textbook, the Environment Project, to Ko-T-Sol last night, the Korean T-Sol Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages group, in a Zoom meeting for an hour and a half. So it was great. We really talked about a lot.
Cool.
Had some very good insight and talked a lot about the environment. So wanted to talk about that today. It's fresh in my mind. Yeah. I am lucky enough to teach science English in my university, in the Department of Environmental and Symbiotic Sciences here at my university. So this is pretty much why I created the textbook for science English. But of course, it can be used in any ESL class. It can be used for many teaching English situations. We learned reading a passage, vocabulary. We learned listening. There's a discussion segment, and there's also a design and presentation segment. So students can kind of design their own thing relating to the topic and present it to the class. So Dan, you did the listening with me for the first rendition of this textbook.
Yeah, we worked on that together. Yes, we did.
We certainly did. That was quite good. I enjoyed that. We still have the listening as part of it. The students actually we put some new listening on lower level because ours was a bit higher level.
Okay.
It was quite long. Students could get it, but it was a bit higher level. So we made another lower level listening. So that one is on the website now.
Okay.
But I'd like to put ours on too, as a choice for teachers.
Yeah, that sounds good. Or plus maybe even supplemental material for students that want to challenge themselves. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Great. Sounds good. You're not opposed to that? You're okay having your voice on the
sure,
big screen,
why not?
on the website.
I'm okay
Good.
with that.
Okay. Yeah. I'd like to do that. We also did just very, very short non-scripted listening too, which actually would work for higher to intermediate level students as well. Just kind of talking about the environmental topics. Yeah. In a conversational format. So Dan, I know you're in the agricultural department at your university, yes?
Yes, I am.
Do you teach about the environment at all?
Well, climate change, the topic does come up. Yeah, talk about that quite a bit. About climate change and the things that are causing climate change. So, in that regard, it's related to the environment. Sure.
Great. And what materials do you use to teach about these aspects?
Well,
do you create something?
We've found online sources for material and then adapted those to make them at the appropriate level, and either created or found listening material for the students and so on. So we've got listening and speaking exercises, things like that to do.
Okay.
We even do some translation and so on, things like that.
Sounds great. So yeah, in order to be a good teacher, you have to be a learner. How do you go about learning about the environment or environmental aspects?
I mean, the internet is my library. I spend a lot of time researching about environmental issues on the internet. Google has become a verb for a very good reason. Google is my friend.
Sure.
Yep.
Absolutely. Hey, Google it.
Yep.
Just Google it. Yeah.
That's right.
Do you find that, and in my case, I found that in my department, because I'm in the environmental and symbiotic sciences department, of course, so students are aware of the environment. They're very caring about the environment. They want to change things. They want us to stop pollution or water pollution and air pollution and create alternative energy. Do you find students are pretty aware of environmental issues?
They are and they aren't, and a lot of them just really aren't aware, but some of them are very aware. I find not so many that are really in the middle. I mean, I've got those that are tuned in to the issues and so on, and maybe have some interest or whatever, whether it's related to their research or just their own personal interest. But then there are some of them that are just kind of turned off, maybe in more ways than one. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
some of them are very aware, much more aware than I am, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I found that too, and I went to a very interesting thing in Minamata, which is where the Minamata disease, of course, originated. Everybody knows that, I'm sure. I went to for 2 or 3 years in a row. They had a kind of an international cafe event in Minamata, where Minamata high school students presented about the Minamata disease and about other environmental aspects in English. And that was really good because they were really, really prepared and really interested in the environment and solving some of these issues and problems. So I found they're very knowledgeable. Last night in our discussion, Michael Furmanovsky joined us, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, remember him?
Oh yeah.
He had a few good comments, and I think it's true. A lot of Japanese students are really familiar with environmental topics. They get familiar in high school, junior high school, even too, and high school, and it's so familiar that some of the knowledge just becomes too commonplace. Yeah, they know it already, and then they don't think about it anymore, right?
Right.
I've kind of found that too. They know the terminology, right? It kind of goes in one ear and out the other sometimes, or it kind of it rolls off the tongue, but it doesn't extend from that.
Right.
In my case, sometimes, right? Do you find that?
Yeah, I do. Maybe that's what I'm observing when I think that they're tuned out or they're not aware. Maybe they have been aware, but they just don't feel like they need to hear it again. They've had enough of it. Maybe I don't know.
That's right. They've had to learn it, right? It's a duty to learn in school, right? Learn the vocabulary, learn the terms, and then, well, yeah, I already know that, or yeah. So that's one thing I found too. Also, I was asked by Julian from Cotisol last night about, of course, teaching material, right, and about students, taking stands or activism, environmental activism in Japan. I found that doesn't happen in my experience, very rarely, for something like the environment, right?
Right.
I have seen activism as far as stopping nuclear power, quelling nuclear energy, but not specifically about changing environmental aspects.
I became, a few years ago, I guess it's been, maybe 6, 8 years ago, I guess it's been that I became aware of that anti Monsanto movement that they've got.
Right.
And
about Roundup, you mean?
Right. Yeah. The glyphosates that are glyphosates, whatever they are. Yeah. That are, that are used in these herbicides and so on, and how those are a concern for the environment on many ways, many levels, and so on. And being in the agriculture department, I thought, oh, I'm going to get support for discussing this. Maybe even March Against Monsanto, that March Against Monsanto thing that they have every year. I thought, wow, maybe I'll get some students organize something and so on. Surprisingly, if that never, I didn't find enough support to make it worthwhile. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I guess. And do you think that's the nature of Japan? I guess yes.
I guess, yeah.
The kind of more laid back or not wanting to cause friction, right? In Japan, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. But although I wish they would kind of do more with activism. I think it would be good for the students, good for the situations, the civilians, right?
Absolutely.
Quite good, actually. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Rather than, I have seen demonstrators at Kumamoto Station near my house, demonstrating against nuclear power, especially after Fukushima. And sometimes even now, we see people demonstrating against nuclear energy. But that's pretty much where it ends.
Yep.
I haven't seen anybody being active about green or changing things, fossil fuels, etc.
I mean, as
let's hope it'll get to that point.
Society as a whole, they're more aware of it. I mean, we see it to the extent that things that we do every day. The way that we have to separate our garbage, in designated days, and the proper way to dispose of the different types of garbage and so on. Things that we're seeing recently, where finally they've gotten away from the plastic shopping bags at the supermarkets and so on. So you have to bring your own, or you have to pay extra for them to try and incentivize people to bring their own reusable shopping bags and so on. So I think that might be at a level here that is a little higher, a little more prevalent than you'll see at least in America, I would say.
I agree. Yeah, sure. Recycling has been going on here for years, and just putting things out on different days, as you said. There's fresh food waste day, and there's pet bottle day, and I guess can and glass day, and paper day, which are kind of all on different days. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But then again, when I think about the impact, the possible impact it's having, I'm more than happy to do it.
Yep.
And it's been going on here this way for years. And I remember going back to America and going to like an amusement park, for example, and throwing away a PET bottle and used food waste and trash from eating into just a general round garbage can. Yeah.
Right.
And they say that they recycle after the fact. I'm not sure about that. It's just like after people throw it away, before they actually, put it into a landfill or put it into an incinerator. Then before that is when they actually recycle, separate things and recycle.
I wonder if that's.
It just seems like. Yeah, I know. It just seems like too hard to do it that way, right?
I mean, the thing about Japan is, the hourly wage, is such that it makes it almost cost prohibitive to do something that would be that labor intensive, right? That's not something that you could easily automate. If you could automate it and have some machine do it, it'd be okay. But if you're going to have Japanese do it, you're going to be paying them, a living wage in order, to do that. And yeah, I'd be surprised if that's actually the case.
Yeah, right. Indeed. Yeah. So, in other words, you think they probably just throw it into a landfill?
In America, yeah.
Yeah, I went to school in New York City, and I remember Fresh Kills landfill in Staten Island. There's just a huge hole in the ground.
Wow.
And of course, this is before recycling kind of took shape, but I remember visiting it just out of curiosity, and it's just everything is just thrown in there. It's not covered, or it wasn't covered at that time. So yeah, I might be wrong about it now, of course. Maybe they do much better with it. But yeah.
So that's how you used to spend your vacations, huh?
Right. Yeah, sure.
Honey, let's go see that new landfill that just opened up. Yeah.
Hey man, let's take some pictures of the landfill. Speaking of landfills, there's a really cool landfill in the kind of towards the west side of Japan, northwest, around Sojo Daigaku, Sojo University. It's called Oniga. Oh, what is it? Ogida. Yeah, Ogida landfill. You can take, for example, unnecessary metal trash, umbrellas or furniture, and wood too, of course, furniture, etc. And they put it in this landfill in a great way. They've got protection on the bottom, huge plastic sheets. They put a layer of concrete. They put the trash, and then they fill dirt. I think they fill dirt after that. Put another layer of plastic and another layer of concrete, and they just build it up. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's really cool. So I take some stuff that I don't need. Yeah, there's some concrete on the sides and whatnot.
Okay. So I guess that's to prevent leakage.
Concrete. It might be some other special material, of course, mixed in with that. I'm not 100% sure that it's pure concrete. It's a very hard material like that. So I've taken some stuff over there, yeah. And each time you go there, it's rearranged because they're filling it up slowly. I go there maybe once in every 3 months. When a new section's open, they direct you down to this new section, or tell you to pull up your car over to this area, right? So it changes quite drastically.
Cool.
Which I thought was really cool, right? They really, really do it well.
Yeah. I've never been there. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, you should check it out. Residents can take stuff there too, as long as you're a resident of the area. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There are also incinerators that you can take garbage to in Kumamoto. Did you know that?
No, I never have. No.
Yeah, there's an incinerator around Toshima, around my university. I haven't been to that particular one. I think it's fresh garbage incinerator. There's a couple on the west side. One for fresh garbage and one for cans and glass.
I see.
You take it, go in there, yeah, and recycle that way.
I take the route that I live close enough to the university that of course not my daily garbage, but if I've got something big, I usually find a way to get it to school and then let the school recycle it in whatever way that they, because they deal in larger amounts anyway, so they already know how to deal with it, right? Yeah.
So your used beds and couches and televisions and stuff, they're all at your university now, huh?
Well, maybe not the couches. Actually, where I buy my furniture, they actually take the old stuff in trade-in. They give you, they don't give you anything. They give you like 1,000 yen, like $10 for it, regardless of what it is. But it saves you having to deal with having it hauled away, right? They take it back for you and give you 1,000 yen on top of that. So.
Right. Sure. That's good. A lot of places do that. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Which is a great idea. And electronics too.
Right.
Unfortunately, right. Yeah. You can have that done with electronics, except for really old computers, which I'm having a problem now trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to do, because I thought about taking them to a recycle shop, which I've done in the past too. Take some old stuff, and in some cases they give you a few bucks, a few yen. In some cases you have to pay, actually.
Right.
For them to take it, right?
Yeah. New
but at
stuff
least you
now,
can see.
new stuff now that always comes with that sticker that says, about the recycling and so on. So it's like it's already paid for. It's part of the purchase price anymore.
Right. Yeah,
If you've got
that's
any
true.
Apple stuff or even non-Apple stuff, you can trade it in. You can get you don't get cash, but you get like gift card credit in your Apple account. So like if you got an old iPad that's a little long in the tooth, or a Mac or something like that you
Oh,
don't
I
use
do.
anymore,
I
you can trade it in
really traded in. Where am I? For
at
example,
Apple.
at an electronic shop. Okay,
At
so it has to be an Apple store.
You
Or,
you do the registration. You go through the paperwork, or you go through the request online, and then they actually send somebody to pick it up. Like a UPS thing to come and pick it up from you.
Wow,
So
cool. Okay, great.
you remember your old Mac that you had back when you were my office mate?
Yes, I do remember that.
That's still worth 15,000 yen.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Wow.
It's so old, it's basically unusable, but it still starts up, and since it starts up and runs, it's still worth 15,000 yen if you trade it into Apple. Yep.
Get out of town. Okay, well that's good to know. I wonder about my old 2008 ones.
That might be a little old. I don't know.
One of them starts. One of them just doesn't start at all anymore.
I've got an old Apple or an iPad Air 2, I think it is. The iPad Air 2.
Okay.
And that is so old that they won't even take it anymore.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Okay. Yeah. I suppose that I do have some stuff that they won't even touch. But it's worth trying to see how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's good. So I wanted to ask you, Dan, about any good, for example, environmental teaching material that you found, other than the things you've made.
A source of material that I like, and it's basically because I can find material of a level that's usable, and also because it has such a broad range of material, is Voice of America.
Okay, that's good. Sure.
Yeah, I go to Voice of America, and in the Learning English, Voice of America Learning English section there, and they have materials that's even lower, lower level English than their standard news site. And it's searchable, so you can type in some keywords. So if you're looking for climate change or environmental issues or whatever, you can type those keywords in there, and it'll search back through its database and crank out, probably depending on your keywords, it'll crank out several different articles that would be appropriate to use.
That is great. Okay.
The other nice thing. The nice thing about it also is, besides the news that the students can read, there's also either an audio file or maybe an audio and a video file on that news item. So it's really nice.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Sounds good. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. I also like the website manythings.org.
Yep.
They have a lot of interesting things on there too. Reading and listening and such. So you can go and it's searchable by keyword also.
Yep.
So about books, have you seen any books that are interesting for you? I have a couple right here that I want to show.
Okay, cool. Yeah, love to see them.
Am I allowed to show these? I guess it's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're not teaching a lesson out of them. You're not, if anything, you're advertising. I think they'd be happy that you're doing that. So, yeah.
Well, that's true. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Yeah. Nanundo. Everyday Ecology. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's a pretty good book actually. It's got pages with a reading section and some vocabulary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this, done like this, right?
Okay.
Vocabulary and sentences with close activities, yeah, and various activities in the book. So it's quite good.
Cool.
I'll use this one a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's got really kind of good topics such as global warming, causes and consequences, and solutions, recycling, of course, green architecture, air pollution, biodiversity. Right. So yeah, this book is good. It's a bit high level reading, but it's quite a good book.
And that's been the problem that I've had is there's not really a shortage of material. There's just a shortage of material at the appropriate level for many of my students. It's generally just a little bit too difficult for a lot of them. Yeah.
Right, right. That is a problem. That is a problem. That's why I kind of wanted to make it more available to all kinds of levels. My book,
Mm.
you know,
Absolutely. That's where you know you make your
Yeah.
own material. You can you can adapt it, adjust it, and make it exactly the way that you want to. Make sure the level is right.
Totally.
Very important. Very important.
Absolutely. Have you seen the book, Dan? No.
No.
Yeah, we had some great illustrations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, very, very cool. So we've got this before you read section.
Yeah.
Very different than the first iteration.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They learn a bit of vocabulary.
Yeah.
Then there's a reading section.
Okay.
Right. More vocabulary clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Listening and making notes. This is a mind map listening.
Okay. Cool.
Which we wanted to try.
Mm-hmm.
I think it works out well. The students kind of had a bit of problem knowing what a mind map is.
Yeah. That's a concept that I've never met a student that knew what I meant right away. After I explained it, you know, the brighter ones catch on pretty quickly, but some of them, it's a tough concept to get their mind around for some of them. You know?
It really is. Yeah, we put this example mind map in the back, just so they can know what's going on. Yeah. Then we've got the design. You remember the design portion, yeah?
Oh yeah. Yep.
They design and present, and we just did this the other day, so it worked out quite well.
Yeah. I remember sitting in on some of your classes where they were doing the presentations. Quite impressive, you know, doing all that, you know, in English. Yeah, it was good. Quite impressive.
Yeah, great. Glad you think so. Yeah, I mean they take to it. It takes a bit of time to get adjusted, but you know, after the first unit, they've got it down.
Yep.
So it's really good, really good. And I just want to show this book too quickly. This is an interesting book I just found. I'm getting this for my graduate class, graduate reading class. Yeah. Have you seen this? Living as Global Citizens.
No.
Interesting.
Don't know that one. Yeah. Sounds interesting.
This is quite higher level. Yeah. This is introduction to the you know, education and environment. Right. They introduced the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it was pretty good. I found a couple spelling mistakes actually in the first one. Well, one spelling mistake I won't point it out, but
okay.
They break down the book into the environment and right. They've got listening. They've got vocabulary, of course. Right, and again, a bit of reading.
Right.
So again, it's quite high level. You know, for example, a question is, what can happen as a result of water shortages in developing countries? Yeah, things like that. But it's quite good. I'm going to have the graduate students challenge this one.
Do you ever show like longer environmentally related videos and things like that to your students?
I have. I've showed the blue gold world water wars actually
Right. Mm-hmm.
a couple of times to this to the graduate class and to my science English class too.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, yeah. Blue gold. That's a good one. And you're familiar with like Cowspiracy?
actually, the guy last night from Cote Sol asked me if I had seen Cowspiracy, and I haven't yet. Have you
Really?
seen that?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't yet.
Yeah. That one's a little bit controversial. I think more so than the blue gold one. Um, and it. We have a teacher at our school who shall remain nameless, but this teacher likes using these videos. She okay, I gave it away. She has
Okay.
shown uh, blue gold and Cowspiracy both, and blue gold goes over pretty well. Cowspiracy, especially among the agriculture uh, students, I mean, it has a lot of rather negative things to say about animal husbandry. I mean, raising animals for food, and so yeah, it doesn't necessarily go over very big with a lot of the students.
Yeah, I guess not. So that's basically about the environmental problems caused by raising beef cattle,
Right.
right? Beef
Yep.
cattle for eating, basically, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The guy Julian from Cotisol also talked about what is it, meatospiracy? I think there's another one, cowspiracy and meatospiracy or
Meatospiracy.
meatspiracy.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he said meatospiracy. Yes,
Hmm.
which is another one.
Okay. There's also one that I've just seen. I think it's available on Netflix. Okay, I do a Netflix plug-in here. I think it's called Seaspiracy, talking about overfishing and the problems that overfishing is causing around the world.
A seaspiracy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. There you go. There you go. Good. Yeah.
But that just, I mean,
Familiar
that
with that one either.
what we just said here, that's kind of an indication of what an impact, that first one, Cowspiracy, had. You've got all these spin-offs, Meatspiracy, Seaspiracy, and so on, right? I mean, it's hit a chord with a number of people, and I think that's probably a good thing. At least it's made people more aware and started a dialogue, or at least expanded on the dialogue, right?
Yeah. Right. Right. Sure. 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 There you go. There you go. Interesting. Right. I haven't seen any of them. I need to watch them, and I will just to make myself aware of it. I'm interested in maintaining the environment, but I am an avid meat eater. What should I do?
Uh, well, raise your own.
There you go.
Mm.
Have you ever tried the Impossible Burger?
The Impossible Burger.
What
No,
have you?
what's that?
That's a meat substitute
Oh,
burger. There's several restaurants in America that do that. Yeah, yeah. And I'm anxious to try it. Apparently, it's
yeah.
very good.
How about where someplace, was it in Sweden or someplace? I mean, they have lab grown meat now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I think it's Sweden. Yes. Which
Yeah.
one?
I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a little bit unsettling for me. I mean, I guess it's like anything else, but I don't know. It just that's bordering on that's on the borderline of almost too unnatural for me.
Yeah, right. It's kind of weird, I know, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
takes a little while to wrap your head around it.
that's right. That's
So if
right.
it helps the environment, would you get into it more readily?
I'm sorry. If what?
If it helps, these things help the environment,
Well, I mean,
cutting down on meat eating, etc.
I mean, if I really felt that if I was going to be part of a movement where that it was going to actually make a difference, but I'm not one of these to go and do the right thing if I don't feel that it's actually gonna be of any consequence, right? So if I'm the only one doing it, if I'm here eating artificial meat and so on, and all my friends around me are chowing down on their beef burgers, I don't know if I'd maintain that for very long.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Right. Nothing like a big greasy cheeseburger with bacon.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough. It's a tough one. I mean, yeah, it's a hard call. It's a definite balance. Yeah.
I mean, but as far as reducing, yeah, I definitely want to reduce the amount of meat that I eat.
Mm-hmm,
So something to a level where it's like, I mean, if I had a
hmm
small, a small place, I could raise some chickens, maybe a pig or some goats or something like that, and so if I could, so if I was doing it all on a limited amount of land, obviously the amount of meat that I'm going to be able to eat is going to be fairly small because it takes a while for those animals to reproduce and to come to a size where they're going to be edible, right? So if I did that, I would necessarily need to reduce the amount of meat that I'm
Yeah.
eating right now, right? And so
hmm
yeah, that coming down to that level seems reasonable to me. Only eat what I could reasonably produce on my own.
Right. That's a good policy. I think that's a good strategy. Totally. Right. Yeah.
Mm.
How about the people? I mean, is eating a lot of meat good for the health too? You really have to ask that.
A lot of meat, probably not, but then a lot of most things is not good, and too much of anything is a bad thing. So
Mhm.
I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. Um, but yeah, but most people, uh, I would, yeah, probably most people around the world could do with a reduction in the amount of meat that they eat. Yeah, and I'm
I
I'm
think
among
so.
those.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I'm really. Yeah, I think so. I agree. I mean, there's cholesterol in it, and right, too much of a good thing is definitely not good, right? And so
Yeah.
reduction is very important. I think. Sure.
Yeah. Of course, then I mean,
There are
you
two
have to
ways.
really, you can't go
Yeah.
about it, kind of halfway. You really, if you're going to make the move to eliminate or drastically reduce the amount of animal protein that you're taking in, then you need to make sure that your diet, you maintain a healthy diet by getting your B vitamins and getting your proteins and so on from other sources. So you really need to
Right.
become aware of a lot of issues that you aren't aware of normally. So it's quite an
Yeah.
adjustment.
Yeah. That's what I'm worried about. Kind of not
Mm,
getting enough vitamins
mm,
from meat and whatnot. Yeah. I remember back in the late '80s, a friend of mine went totally macrobiotic. Yeah.
mm,
And gave up everything. Basically, she was eating, vegetables and nuts and right and things like that. And she looked gray. Yeah,
mm.
she just had this gray tone about her. She just didn't look healthy. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
If she kept
Yeah.
on that diet, but yeah,
Mm,
she lost a lot of weight.
yeah.
But she just did not look healthy, and I think she was lacking a lot of vitamins.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Yeah. I mean,
you're
yeah.
right.
We need, I mean, our bodies are so complicated, so complex, and the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know. It's like anything else, and there's just so much to be aware of if you start manipulating your diet, and if you don't go about it carefully. Um,
hmm
a- and like most people, I can't afford to hire a professional nutritionalist to help me out there. So I had to kind of stumble through it on my own, and that is a little bit disconcerting. To think that I could be making my choices I'm making might not be the healthiest choices. So something else to consider.
Totally, totally. Yeah, it's good if you do have somebody kind of watching out for you.
Mm. Yep.
Uh, the cook in your family, for example, if he or she kind of makes healthy things and kind of tries to watch your diet for you, right? It's
Right.
it's,
Right.
it's a lot easier.
Yep.
But of course, yeah, it's not possible in every case. Yeah,
Mm, mm,
yeah. It's interesting. But you're right. I mean, uh, stopping it for good and changing 100%, taking a 180-degree turn is very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you hear the other problem is you hear so many, at least as a layman, in nutrition, I hear so many conflicting stories. Oh, low carb, no carb, keto diet is the way to go, and then but keto is high in fats, and animal proteins are okay, and this, that, and the other thing, and you hear conflicting things, and maybe what's good for my body might not be good for somebody else's body, or what's good for my body might be bad for the environment. So I mean, which story do you listen to? It's almost like you can find a way to justify whichever choice you make.
very difficult. Right, that's very true indeed. Yes, and I've heard that about keto too. Right, if you can't do it halfway, apparently,
Right.
you really have to follow it strictly, because you can really mess up your body if
Mm.
you kind of try to do it yourself or do it halfway. Right, so
Right.
these things are a bit disconcerting, of course. Sure,
Mm.
sure. Yeah, good. So, what topics in the environment do you kind of tend to lean towards in teaching?
Well, I mean, somewhat related to tourism, as you do, talking about ecotourism and things like that, to a certain extent. Students are today are generally at least familiar with the term. I find, at least those that are in tourism or interested in tourism at all. So
Mhm.
those kind of concepts are becoming more common, and hearing about ecotourism type project or programs and things like that are going on around the world are interesting to the students and so on. I find information about those. So there's that, and then, as I talked about, the agriculturally related environmental issues and so on, which has basically been talking about how agriculture impacts the environment, right?
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Sure. Sure. I enjoy teaching ecotourism or sustainable tourism
Mm.
of late. Sure. Yeah. Sustainability is important. Sometimes I think the word is overused.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, right. What exactly do we mean sustainability, right? Yeah.
Right.
Tourism that's able to be maintained over a long period without too much destruction is kind of how I think of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Uh, I mean, I really have mixed feelings about tourism as an industry as a whole. I mean, I think that I understand that economically it's important to so many different communities, and I understand that it entertainment wise, or I mean, as part of our feeling of fulfillment as individuals, being able to travel and experience different parts of this planet that we live on is important in a lot of ways. And yet, I see the amount of resources that are used in a way that maybe is not to the greatest advantage to the majority of the people of this planet, and wonder, because of tourism or through tourism, and wonder if maybe it is really the right way, a good thing or not. Is tourism, a good or a
right,
bad?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is tourism good or bad, right? And sometimes I think it's bad. We try to make it good for its own sake, and then it starts to step on its own foot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it starts to kind of get bad, right? Get worse
Yeah.
for what it is. Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
the trouble is, any place that gets popular gets overcrowded. And the overcrowding, I mean, aside from the inconveniences that it causes, it also, causes damage to the sites and so on too. I mean, basically, it's, the same thing that we see everywhere, in every situation. Too many people causes problems, right? I mean, this planet, it probably, I might argue that this planet has too many people on it right now, and a lot of our problems stem from that single fact, right? But yeah, when you've
mhm.
got too many people trying uh, to use too few resources, be that resource food or oil or clean water, or be that resource some form of entertainment, such as a desirable travel destination. I mean, in a way, that's a resource that's limited, and too many people are trying to take that or to use that resource. Right, causes a problem.
Mhm. Totally, so it causes endless problems, right?
Right.
Which in the days of mass tourism, that was a really big problem, right? And I think people are becoming more aware of that now. One good thing about COVID is that it does kind of quell that a bit now,
Mm,
right? We want to get back to
absolutely.
tourism, but yeah, it's
Right.
kind of good, sort of, to right to have it now. Maybe we can step back and have a look at it and have a look
Mm.
at the impacts and the negative impacts. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, COVID, as disastrous as it's been in so many ways, it's also forced people to open their eyes about a lot of issues. I mean, do we need to do so as much traveling as we have been doing in the decade or two preceding this COVID pandemic? Right? I mean, people were doing so much travel. I mean, it was just become second nature to hop on an airplane and fly halfway around the world without really thinking about it. And maybe we need to start thinking about it, as well as things like traveling to meetings. Why do we need to have all these face-to-face meetings? Why not stay at home, use the internet? We have this international network in place. Why not take advantage of it and use it to its best advantage, and also eliminate some of the waste and pollution that's caused by this unnecessary travel, right?
Totally, and that's it's going to make a huge impact when we do kind of step back and stop all the mass tourism, right?
Right.
I think it can have detrimental effects. I remember a beach in Thailand. Do you remember the beach? I forget the name of it, but it was just in such terrible condition after so much tourism, so much mass tourism, trash, garbage all over the place, right? And they closed the beach for about a year, I think it was, and it just became pristine again. Yeah.
Yep. They did the same thing in the Philippines. Boracay was a famous
Right.
resort in the Philippines. They closed it. I can't remember. It was either for 6 months or a year, because there were, in order to accommodate the huge number, the overabundant number of tourists that were going there, they were ignoring important safety and environmental guidelines, and the whole place had just really become quite unpleasant in a lot of ways, and they closed it down and restored it to good condition, and now it's a place to go again. Yeah,
Really? Oh, that's fantastic. That's
yeah.
that's fantastic. Have you been there?
No, I haven't been
Have you?
there. Um,
Right.
but
Mm.
but yeah, so something else in the Philippines that I was thinking about, though. Manila Bay had this reputation as being this garbage, just covered with garbage. The beach was just covered with garbage and bad smelling, and the waters near the beach area there were basically devoid of fish because it was so polluted and dirty and so much garbage and so on there. And uh,
Wow.
they spent time cleaning up the beach, removing the garbage, really cleaning it up just really nicely. And within days, uh, fish started to return to that area. Once the garbage was gone, once the toxins were out of the water, out of the area, and so on, the fish came back.
Right.
Given a chance, nature will
Fantastic.
will recover. Yes.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I have no doubt about that, and I'm sure it does and will. I just want to give a quick shout out to Tooth number 13.0 asks if this is live, and yes, it is. If you're listening, it is live. So good. So yeah, sustainable tourism, right? Tourism that's kind of lets us see places, but also in a very very calm way is really extremely important. As they say, take pictures, leave only footprints, right? Uh,
Exactly.
this in my book, I just wanted to show this briefly. Sustainable tourism is the last unit in this book. I really wanted to include something like this. in the book, to have students really understand the impact of tourism and sustainability. I think the artist did a great job of displaying here the difference between mass tourists getting off of a cruise ship, right, and then here in the mountains, yes, on a mountain bike and hiking. Yeah, so it's pretty cool, right? She did a great job, great artist, right? And this one we go through green tourism photos, not footprints. Yeah. Right. And when they get to this point in the textbook, they've learned a lot of vocabulary already. They've learned a lot about pronunciation and making mind maps. So the final design and presentation is on designing your own sustainable tourism resort. So they kind of have to draw a top-down view of the sustainable tourism resort, include the elements they're going to have in English, and write a description of it and present it to the class. Yeah.
So
I mean, last year we did this too.
Are there different levels of sustainability? I mean, to say something sustainable, does that mean infinitely sustainable? That that if this methodology, if this was carried on, regardless of what kind of extended period of time you're talking about, if it was continued, that it would be able to continue indefinitely? Or is it something that could have some kind of a limit to it, that it be carried on for only a certain period of time?
That's a very, very good question. Yeah, very, very good question. I think infinitely sustainable is very difficult. And it depends on what you mean, again, by sustainability, right? So I think a lot of elements have to be involved in creating a good sustainable destination. The community has to be involved, right? Stakeholders have to be involved, which kind of leads to the government a little bit, right? And of course, tourists themselves. The destination has to be involved. So I think it's possible, right, if it's controlled well, but I think infinitely sustainable is, of course, we don't know at this point, but I think it's worth a shot to try to make it as infinitely sustainable as possible, right? But yes, I agree, there are different levels of sustainability.
Right. And there's also,
for example, the first level, I was just going to say the first level, maybe, right, limiting tourists, which some countries do already, like Bhutan, for example. They limit the number of tourists that are allowed to enter per year. That could be a first level, right? And then within that, how far do you want to go, right?
Right. Yeah, and and then there's also trade-offs between. I mean, so a little different than sustainability, I guess. But the trade-off between making destinations accessible to people and maintaining the pristine condition of that place, right? So if you have some amazing archaeological discovery, some archaeological site, within a remote area. I mean, as a human, I feel almost that, hey, I should be able to go and see that. That's part of my heritage too. As one of the humans on this planet. I'd like to, I have an interest. I'd like to see it if I have the financial ability, the resources to be able to travel there, then, like I should be able to. But then on the other hand, there are a large number of people that fit that criteria. And if we allow all them there, then necessarily that area will suffer, from the increased traffic and so on. So
totally.
Who makes those kind of decisions, and how do you weigh those kind of decisions?
Yeah, this is really the hard part. I think you touched on really the crux of the issue and the very, very hard part of the issue, right? Like I said, everybody has to be involved, right? The community, right? And some community members, they just don't want to be involved. I think, they don't want to deal with it, right? I think you can see that in Japan somewhat,
Mm.
in Mount also, right? Everybody talks about ecotourism and ecotourism development, but right, some community members, not only in Japan but all over the world, I think don't want to be involved, right? Or
Mm.
right, and right, you have to really, really look at that issue, and
Yep.
let's hope that we can in the future.
Mm.
Sure, sure.
I mean,
I
anytime,
think
I
so.
mean, increased tourism means increased money for, certain
Right.
people, and yeah, so, and some people look at the money as important. Other people look at the preservation of the environment as more important. And so, yeah, so, yeah, again, another one of those things where there's no right answer, that's some kind of a compromise, but
Hmm.
every compromise means some loss to the environment,
It totally does. And
and
to tourism too, possibly
right.
both of those. And it's like, where do
Exactly.
you get the good balance going on,
Right.
right? Yeah,
Mm.
totally, totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting, fascinating issue.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to I'm gonna have to get going here in a little bit.
Okay.
But thank you, Dan, for joining me. Do you have anything else you wanted to say
Um.
about the
No.
environment?
Yeah. I mean. Yeah. It's just. It's another one of those things. I mean, and we see. About the environment. We've talked about it here, but we've seen things. I mean, huge issues in America. The issue of fracking. Again, both sides. The for and against with that. The
Mm-hmm.
pipeline, that through the lands that some pristine undeveloped lands that were where the pipe they were building, they built the pipeline through there, and the people that objected to that for various reasons, and so
Yep,
on.
yep, yep.
So they, again, all these trade-offs, and it seems to me that, yeah, I mean, compromise always seems like a good idea, but if you keep compromising and compromising and compromising on the environment, sooner or later there's, I mean, it's getting whittled away with every compromise, and sooner or later, even if you've compromised the entire way, it's still going to be lost, right?
Still gonna be lost. Yeah.
The environment is still
Unfortunately,
going to, yeah, yeah,
it can be a depressing issue.
yeah,
Yeah, fracking. Just on a couple things before we go.
sure,
Fracking is huge in Pennsylvania, where I'm from. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
there's a lot of activism against it in Pennsylvania because there have been problems,
mm-hmm,
right? Right, explosions and whatnot in
right,
Pennsylvania through fracking.
mm-hmm.
Also, that pipeline on the East Coast. Have you heard about that? There's like no
Not so much,
gas
right? Not so
in
much.
in in
Just, yeah,
places on the East Coast. Yeah,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
North Carolina. I hear it's kind of lacking gas
Oh,
from
hmm.
that pipeline. What was it? A pipeline hacking incident
Oh, is that what that was? Okay, all
recently?
right. Uh-huh.
Yeah, from
Wow.
what I understand, I'm not totally 100% sure either.
Hmm.
But yeah, and these things happen too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, great
Yeah.
talking to you, Dan. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Yeah. It's been good. It's been a good hour we've been talking here. So yeah, well done.
It has, yeah, great. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Cool.
very well done for you too. Yeah.
All
Thank you for watching,
right.
everyone.
Yep. Thanks. Yep.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
We'll see
Watch.
you next Wednesday.
Yep. Yeah. If
Go
you're
ahead.
not subscribed,
Oh,
be sure you subscribe to Jeff. Right. If you haven't subscribed to Jeff, be sure that
oh
you
yeah,
subscribe. We do
that'd be
this every
great.
Thursday. The time changes sometime, but generally sometime uh, around on this day, we're talking about different kinds of issues like this, uh, expat related things or tourism related things, or whatever Jeff wants to talk about for that matter. And then yesterday, a day before
Environment.
this, yeah, we're
Hmm.
doing the philosophical type things. Yep,
Layman's philosophy.
that's right.
Yep,
Yep,
please join us for that too.
absolutely.
Yep,
Yep. All right,
sounds
good.
great. Sounds great.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.